this video, I want to talk to you about 3 important things to consider about your body in order to help your golf swing and to reduce the risk of injury. Don't forget, if you like our content and you want to see more from us and more videos to help with your health and well-being, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so that we can notify you as soon as we launch any new content. The first thing is shoulder mobility. Now, golf is a rotational sport where we look to build up potential energy during the backswing and then release that energy as we go through our swing and make contact with the ball and go into the follow through. So in order to do that from our upper half of the body, we want to have lots of shoulder mobility. The more mobility we have, the more the ability we have to be able to use those shoulders to a further range of motion to wind up greater potential energy that we can then expel onto the ball. So it's very important that we're assessing how much mobility we have around our shoulders. Now, some easy ways to do this, and remember, it's always worth comparing the left-hand side to the right-hand side to see if any side is tighter than the other one. The first movement we can look at is internal rotation. Now, in order to do this, what you do is you take your hand and you simply look to slide it up your spine as far as you can go. You then mark where this gets to around your shoulder blade area, and then you repeat this on the other side. And what you're looking for is one side tighter than the other? We can then look at external rotation. Now, we almost do the opposite here in that we bring our arm over our shoulder and slide it down the spine. Again, marking where we can get to in the shoulder blade area and comparing it to the left and right hand side. If you find that either you're tight in both sides or tight in one side than the other, what we can look to do is some stretching work in order to improve this mobility, this shoulder mobility, which again will help with our golf swing and be reducing our risk of injury around the shoulder. Now, what we can do here is simply use something like a towel or even your golf club. And what we look to do, if we're looking to increase our internal rotation, is we pass the towel over our shoulder. So if I'm looking to stretch my right hand shoulder blade or shoulder area, I put a towel or a golf club over my left shoulder so that I then take that with my right hand somewhere around the small of my back. Then with my left hand, what I can do is I can pull up on the towel or on the golf club to bring my arm into further internal rotation. And what you should feel is a stretch at the back of your shoulder. Now, if I want to be stretching in the opposite direction, so if I want to be working my external rotators and I want to be doing this on the right hand side, what I can do is I can take the towel or the golf club and pass it over my right hand shoulder. I often call this the over the shoulder coat stretch because it's a bit like you're looking to chuck your coat over your shoulder on a hot day. So we put the towel over our right hand shoulder to take it with our left hand. Then this time what we're looking to do is pull downwards with the left hand. So pulling our right hand further down that shoulder blade. And you'll feel that stretching around the sort of chest area. And that's a great way of increasing the mobility at the shoulders. You want to be repeating these stretches for 30 seconds and you can do these 2 or 3 times. And what it's worth doing, if you do this for a week or 2, is then reassessing the amount of mobility with the test that we just mentioned to see if you're able to increase that shoulder mobility, which will be reducing the risk of injury and increasing the amount of power that you can apply to your golf swing. Coupled with shoulder mobility, the other thing that we want to consider is upper back mobility as well, because this has a big impact on our shoulder mobility and our ability to rotate through the golf swing. So a nice way to try and assess your upper back mobility is that you can kneel next to a wall. So one leg's kneeling on the floor and then you put both hands out in front of you so that they're in contact with the wall. With the hand that's on the top, what you want to be doing is rotating that away from the wall. And the aim is to see how far round you can rotate, and you'll feel that restriction or that pull through your upper back. You can then use this as a nice stretch to hold in that position for 30 seconds. You then repeat on the other side and you look to compare left to right. Are you tighter or more restricted through one aspect of your upper back? So then you can focus your stretching work upon that area. Number 2 is hip mobility. Now, as I mentioned with the shoulder mobility, with golf being a rotational sport, we want to have the ability to get as much rotation as we can out of our hips to give us the most amount of power to be able to generate onto that golf ball following for your golf swing technique. So the hip is a very complicated joint with lots of muscles crossing it. But what I want to do is make this as simple as possible. So what we want to think about is how much we can move our hip out and then how much we can move our hip in and assess our mobility. So what we're going to look at in particular are our glute muscles, which pull the hip outwards, and our groin muscles, which pull our hip inwards. To keep things simply, there are multiple muscles that do create these movements, but we're going to put it in its simplest form today. So the first thing I want you to do is assess your glutes and the amount of flexibility you have at your glutes. So to do this, what you do is you lie down with your back flat on the floor. You bend one leg, and this will be the leg of the side that you're not testing. So if you bend the left leg, you will be testing the right hand side. You then take that right foot and you place that onto the thigh of the left leg, so that you're almost into a figure 4 on the floor shape with that right leg. You then lift the left leg so that you're taking the foot with you. And this will be bringing your left knee up towards your chest and your right foot up towards your chest. You will now feel a pull through that right hip. Now what we're looking for here is in the side that is doing the lifting, the non-testing side, can we get that to 90 degrees? If we can get that to 90 degrees, that's a good indicator of some good hip mobility. If you find it difficult to get to 90 degrees, that is an indicator that we're perhaps a little bit tight through that area. Now, the other muscles that we want to assess are our groin muscles, because they'll be controlling the amount that we allow to go outwards into our golf swing. So, what we want to be looking at here is if we take a seat with our back against the wall, place both your legs together straight ahead of you. Now what you want to do at the side that you are testing is take that leg, keeping the leg straight but moving it away from you, a bit like a pendulum action. And as you move further away from the leg that you're leaving straight, you will start to feel the groin of that leg being stretched. What you want to see is how far you can get to. And again, then what you want to do is be repeating this on the other side to compare left to right. And that's a good indicator of, is there any imbalances? Are you tighter through one groin area, which is going to affect that hip, as I mentioned, on left to right? Now, if you find for either the glutes or the groins that you're a little bit tight through that area, something that I'd strongly recommend are some stretches of that area. So that's your glute muscles and your groin muscles. So you can just be going into the test positions that we did to be able to allow you to be stretching out those muscles, and you want to be holding these for 30 seconds. But what I'm also going to do now is just show a couple of extra stretches that you can add to your program to be improving that hip mobility. Number 3 is hip stability. So by hip stability, what I mean by that is how stable can you make yourselves? How much can you be using that hip joint to give you stability of that area? Now, the reason I think this is so important for a golf swing is that when we are going through the golf swing, we're working on a fixed base. There's some movement, but effectively we're working on a fixed base. Now, the stronger we make that base, the better our golf swing's going to be. So, and exactly the way as if we were trying to build a house, we want to build that on strong foundations. And that's what we want to do for your golf swing, is to be able to have the ability to build this on a strong foundation. And also not forgetting that it will be reducing your risk of injury by making you stronger through the area as you go through the dynamic movement that is the golf swing. So a couple of exercises here to be testing your hip stability. So the first exercise is what we term heel drops. Now to do this, what you want to do is take yourself onto a step or the bottom of a staircase, and you place one leg onto the step or staircase. The other leg will be off of the staircase. Now, the leg that's on the staircase is the side that you're going to be testing. But what you do is you take the other leg and you drop that down towards the floor so that your heel touches the floor. You then only the heel should make contact with the floor, and then you bring yourself back up so that your hips are level. And in order to do this movement, you'll feel the hip muscles, or the glute muscles in particular, on the side that is on the staircase working in order to create this movement. And we recommend that you try repeating this 12 times. You can then change this onto the other side to compare. Do you feel as strong left to right, or is there an imbalance here? Is one side more different than the other? And this is a great exercise to be working those hip stabilizing muscles, which will increase your hip stability. Another thing we can do, which is more of a compound exercise using multiple muscle groups, is the squat. A squat is a fantastic exercise to be working those muscles. And again, as we go through the golf swing, certain elements of it really sort of replicate the squat motion. So I think it's a good thing for golfers to be working. To do a squat, you stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Your first movement is to drive your bottom backwards. So as you drive your bottom backwards, the next thing you want to be doing is making sure that your back is flat as you drive towards the floor. In order to help with this, make sure that you are looking straight ahead and not down towards your feet as you drive the bottom down as low as you can and then return to the starting point. You can repeat this exercise 12 times. Another thing that you can look to do to test how strong you are right to left is then complete a single leg version of this exercise that we term the single leg squat. I would try doing 6 on each side, and here what you're looking for is to combine 2 of the previous things that we've spoken about. Have you got the mobility in order to do that? And finally, have you got the stability? So are you as stable when you do a single leg squat on the right or left hand side? If you find one more difficult, you know that you've got reduced stability on that side, and that's something that you can work on to further develop your golf swing. So that covers the 3 most important things that I think you want to be working on to make sure that you can help your golf swing and reduce your risk of injury. Of course, there's other aspects that come into play. So if you do have any questions that you want to ask, please feel free to get in touch with us on the information below, and I'll happily discuss anything that may be causing you a problem, and we can make sure that you can get to that first hole, second, 18th, and probably most importantly, the 19th hole.